This is a story about a girl whose ordeal was caused by a family member who was supposed to keep her safe. Here is the horrifying story of a young teen imprisoned for 24 years by the very person who should have been her protector. Let's hear the story of Elisabeth Fritzl. Josef Fritzl was born on the 9th of April 1935 in the town of Amstetten, Lower Austria, to Josef Fritzl Sr. and Maria Fritzl. He was mostly brought up by his working mother as his father left when he was just 4 years old. In 1944, Josef Fritzl Sr. fought in World War II as a soldier for Wehrmacht and was killed in action. In 1956, Josef Fritzl Jr. got married at the age of 21 to Rosemary, aged 17. He would then finish his education in electrical engineering at HDL Technical College. From 1961 to 1971, he worked at a construction material firm in Amstetten. In 1995, at the age of 60, Josef retired from active employment but continued some commercial activities. Josef and Rosemary's marriage gave them 3 sons and 4 daughters, in which one of them is Elisabeth Fritzl, born on the 6th of April 1966. Criminal activities: Josef Fritzl. In 1967, when Joseph was 32 years old, he broke into a home of a 24-year-old nurse while her husband was away and raped her, while threatening to her as he held it to her throat. He was then also suspected of being the perpetrator in a case with a 21-year-old woman and is known for indecent exposure or flashing. He was arrested and served 12 months out of an original 18-month prison sentence. Elisabeth's background. At the tender age of 11, Elisabeth experienced the first time her father Josef abused her. On January 1983, Elisabeth ran away from home at the age of 17 and went to stay with a friend from a working course as a waitress in Vienna. But after 3 weeks, she was found by the police and was returned to her parents in Amstetten. After a while, she completed her waitress course and was offered a job in Linz around mid-1984. Captivity. On the 28th of August 1984, just 4 months after she turned 18, her father Josef lured her into the basement saying that he needed assistance with carrying a door, but what she didn't know, that this will be the door that will separate her from the outside world. The very last thing needed to seal the basement that Joseph already converted into a makeshift prison where Elisabeth will be held captive for 24 years. The size of the prison basement is 380 square feet or 35 meters squared. While Elisabeth was holding the door in place, Joseph fitted it to the frame, and after the door was secured in place, Joseph held an ether-soaked towel to her face that made her unconscious and then locked her up. When Elisabeth suddenly became missing, her mother Rosemary got worried and filed a missing persons report. After a month, Joseph handed a letter with a postmark from Braunau to the police. It's from Elisabeth, stating that she was tired of living with her family and is now living with a friend and asking her parents not to look for her or she will leave the country. Joseph stated at this time that Elisabeth might have likely joined a cult. But it's just one of the many lies and letters that Joseph fabricated and forced Elisabeth to write. Unbeknownst to the police officers, Elisabeth is being held captive just a few feet beneath them. During the 24 years of captivity, Joseph would visit her almost every day to a minimum of 3 times a week to bring food and supplies, and unfortunately to assault her. This resulted in Elisabeth giving birth to a total of 7 children. 1 child passed away after birth, and 3 children named Lisa, Monica, and Alexander were taken from the chamber to then live with Joseph and Rosemary as their foster children, approved by the local social services. Remember his criminal record? The social service did not see this, since in the Austrian law, his record will be removed after it passed 15 years. And his adoption or fostering his grandchildren was filed more than 25 years after. The local social services then said how Joseph explained how his 3 infant grandchildren suddenly appeared on his doorstep. The official then frequently visited the family, but they did not see or heard anything that would cause any suspicions. Each time a child appeared on their doorstep, they would be accompanied with a note from Elisabeth explaining how she is unable to care for them and that she was leaving them with her parents for safekeeping. All this were staged by Josef, and all the notes he forced Elisabeth to write. In 1994, after the birth of their fourth child, Josef allowed them to expand the basement from 380 square feet to 590 square feet, or from 35 square meters to 55 square meters, by having Elisabeth and her children dig out the soil by hand for years. Elisabeth and her children were given a television, a radio, a video cassette player, a refrigerator, and a hot plate for their daily needs and entertainment. Sometimes, if anything upsets Josef, or if he wanted to, he would punish them by turning the lights off, not delivering food for days, threatening to gas them if they tried to escape, and also told them that they would be electrocuted if ever they tried to open the metal door. Christine, Josef's sister-in-law, said that every morning by 9 a.m., Josef would visit the basement to draw plans for a machine that he sells, and that he would often work till late at night and wouldn't allow even his wife, Rosemary, to bring him coffee. Their ground floor level tenant for 12 years would then state that they would hear noises from the basement, but Josef would deny this by saying it's because of the faulty pipes or the gas heating system. Discovery. On the 19th of April 2008, Elisabeth's eldest daughter, Kirsten, got critically ill and fell unconscious. Elisabeth begged Josef to get Kirsten medical attention, and Josef grudgingly agreed. Elisabeth then helped him carry Kirsten out of the prison basement, and she saw the outside for the first time in 24 years. She was then returned to the basement and will stay there for the last and final week. An ambulance took Kirsten to Landesklinikum Amstetten Hospital, where they discovered that she was already experiencing a life-threatening kidney failure. Josef then arrived with a letter that he found written by Elisabeth explaining Kirsten's condition. On the 21st of April, the medical staff alerted the police. They felt several aspects of Josef's story suspicious and inconclusive. The police made a broadcast appealing for Elisabeth to show up to provide Kirsten's medical history. It also leads to the reopening of Elisabeth's disappearance case. Josef, on the other hand, repeated to the authorities his original story that Elisabeth is part of a cult, and the most recent letter that they received from her is dated January of 2008 in a town in Kimaten. Manfred Wolfhart, a church officer and cult expert, was then contacted regarding the case of Elisabeth. He examined the note given by Josef, which he found doubtful. It was full of inconsistencies, and the letter seemed dictated and oddly written. With all the things happening, Elisabeth begged Josef to let her see Kirsten at the hospital. On the 26th of April, Josef let Stefan and Felix out of the basement. He left Stefan and Felix while he and Elisabeth went to the hospital. Dr. Albert Reiter, Kirsten's attending physician, tipped the police of Elisabeth's sudden appearance at the hospital. With this information, the police went to the hospital, detained them, and took them to the police station for questioning. At first, Elisabeth refused to talk about the whole story of her 24-year disappearance until the police ensured her that she would never see her father again. Over the next 2 hours, she talked about being and forced to watch videos and reenact them in front of her children to embarrass her. The police officers completed their investigation shortly after midnight and arrested the aging 73-year-old Josef Fritzl. On the night of the 27th of April, Rosemary, Elisabeth, and her children were brought into care. Rosemary was unaware of the captivity, which Josef also backed up. Josef told the authorities how to get inside the prison basement using the small hidden door that could only be opened by a secret keyless entry code. On the 29th of April, the DNA results were done, and they found that Josef was the father of all of Elisabeth's children. On the 1st of May, the police said at a press conference that Josef forced Elisabeth to write all the letters they claimed to have received over the years, and that he has a plan to release Elisabeth and her kids and pretend to rescue them from the cult. Police found a letter written the previous year saying she wanted to come home, but it's not possible yet. They also would interview the past tenants that lived in the apartment building of the Fritzls, none of whom knew that there was a secret prison in the basement, as Josef had explained away all sounds by blaming faulty piping and a noisy heater. Trial. On the 16th of May 2009, the trial began at St. Polten, presided by Judge Andre Hammer. Josef would then try to hide his face by using a blue folder. Josef pleaded guilty to all charges except for murder and grievous by threatening to gas his captives if they disobeyed him. The defense of Josef would then say that the released proof of DNA that Josef is the father of Elisabeth's children would prove incest and not the allegations of rape and enslavement. Josef would also claim that he did not rape his daughter. It was consensual and that he isn't the monster that the media portrayed him to be, as he would even bring flowers for Elisabeth, toys, and Christmas trees for the children. Elisabeth's side pressed for life imprisonment in an institution for the criminally insane. They would show the low-height ceiling of the basement and would describe it as damp and moldy. An 11-hour testimony was also shown along with the testimonies of Harold, Elisabeth's older brother, saying that he was also physically abused by their father. Rosemary and Elisabeth's children refused to testify. On the second day of trial, Elisabeth attended even though she did not plan on seeing her father ever again. Josef's attorney said that Josef Fritzl recognized that Elisabeth was in court, and from this point on, you could see Josef Fritzl going pale and he broke down. It was a meeting of the eyes that changed his mind. The next day, he pleaded guilty to all charges. On the 19th of March 2009, Josef Fritzl was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for 15 years. He accepted the sentence and would not appeal. He is serving his sentence at Garston Abbey, life after captivity. It was revealed that during the captivity, Kirsten would tear out clumps of her hair and shred her dresses before stuffing it inside the toilet. Stefan could not walk properly as he needed to bend down to walk in the basement. Elisabeth, Kirsten, and Stefan would also experience anxiety and panic attacks due to the dimming of lights and closing of doors. The upstairs children were then discovered to be traumatized by the lies of abandonment of their mother, being abused, and finding out that their mother and siblings are imprisoned in the basement. All of the children might have genetic problems due to being born in an incestuous relationship. Elisabeth and her children, along with Rosemary, were housed in a clinic to receive medical and psychological treatment. Other than that, they are relatively in good health. Members of the Fritzl family were also given the chance to create a new identity. In March 2010, it was revealed that Elisabeth and her children are doing better, as well as Elisabeth's relationship with her mother. They started visiting each other more, and Elisabeth has forgiven her mother for believing Josef's story. On May 2017, Josef changed his name to Josef Meerhoff due to being involved in a prison fight where he lost several teeth. In an interview, he showed no remorse and stated that, "Just look into the cellars of other people. You might find other families and girls down there." In April 2019, Josef's health was declining and doesn't want to live anymore. He would be released from prison in 2024 at the age of 86 years old. Writer Emma Donoghue was inspired by the crime of this story and created a book named Room. In 2021, another film inspired by the Fritzl case was released, titled Girl in the Basement. What do you think about Elisabeth Fritzl's story? Comment your opinion down below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell.